Good afternoon and good evening and good morning, depending on where you are on the earth. My name's Ayana, and I'm your facilitator today. And today we're going to be talking about kings, kingdoms, and messengers. Today, this video will be about several words that look like it's the same word. We'll talk about whether or not they have the two root, which word for the two roots that we use here with Yhuhderek, and we'll also talk about a couple of false deities in line with some of the other false deities that we talked about. We will go ahead and get started with this. Before we do, I would like to take a moment to ask if you would please, if you're getting good information, you enjoy the videos, please hit the subscribe button for our Yhuhderek channel. And while you're at it, I would ask if you would please donate to this channel. We do utilize all funds to buy different media like pictures, access to, archaeological papers that we have to pay for, it's on a pay site, equipment, and just for research like books. So please donate. We have two avenues where you could donate to us. The first one is paypal.me/Yhuhderek. And the second one is Cash App, which is the $ Yhuhderek. Thank you for your support. So we have pictures here of several deities that we talked about in our last video, Changing Your Language. We will continue in that theme in this video by looking at other false deities and clear the confusion between the words for kings, kingdoms, and messengers. And here are some of the pictures that were used in the last video. We talked about all of this. So as you look at all the words on the screen, they all look alike. And what the question is the same root word? Do all these the same root word? As you know, in Yhuhderek, original, otherwise known as original Hebrew, it's a 2-letter root system and not the 3-letter root system that is used with modern day Israeli, otherwise known as modern Hebrew. But the truth is that root words in Yhuhderek, otherwise known as biblical Hebrew, it's a 2-letter root system. So if you look at all these, we got a couple words for queen, we've got a couple of words for king, we've got messenger. So, and they all look like they're the same word. So we're going to get into whether or not it is the same word. All right, so the answer is, sorry about that. The answer is no, it's not the same word. It's two different words. You have a list of these words put in order on the left and the right. Over here on the left, these words all come from the root word Malak, as you can see right there. There's a Strong's number. It's a word, it means to say or to speak. You could find a good example of this in Jeremiah, which is Jeremiah 11:6. So let's look at some of these words because there's some special mentions here. So the first word up there, Malak, mean king. You see the letters in orange. So in scripture, when you read Malak, there's some different assignations that are put on words so you can tell which kind. And the first one, this Malak is usually begun by a bath or a bet, and it would be Bamalak, or it's with the lamed or the lam, and it would be Lamalak. That word is intended for just neutral use for the word king. It can also apply to kings of Yasharel, other foreign kings, but it just means king. All right. Now, if you go further down on the list, you'll see another word, and I have it written as Malak. That's also the word Malak, but in Scripture, reference to a foreign, a false deity. Okay, and it's always prefaced with a ha or hey. So the real word is Malak, but it always has a ha in front of it. And that word is for the false deity called Molek. Okay, in ways, you can see above Malak, there's a word, Malcolm. Those two words are for the ancient deity, and we'll get more into that as we go on, because we'll talk about that deity. Then you'll have the last word down here, Malakath, with a thu or a thet at the end of it. And Hamalak, Malakath actually means queen. And if you look up further up here, the second and third word on this list, it also means queen, right? But the Malakath with the thu at the end, that actually means another false deity who is referenced in Scripture of heaven. And please take a look at all of those. So I'm saying this to you because many people get these words confused, right? One is for king, one is for queen, one is for kingdom, one is for messenger, one is named after a prophet who wrote a book. And these words all have that a suffix in the case of Malakath that lets you know it's applied to a person or if it's just for general speech use. So there's that. Now, as we go on to our next list, right? Our next list to the right is, these are all the same words, and it comes from a different root word, lam, alp, cap, right? And that's definition means to send, to serve. You can find an example of this in Haggai 1:13. It was very hard for me to find Lak all by itself in Scripture. It always had the mem in front of it, so it would be Malak. But this differentiates from the other list of Malak because it has its alp in it. It has the A, and that's highlighted in yellow there. Please disregard the arrow moving. I actually had to do another audio over this. I made the video, I recorded it, and I didn't include the audio. So I'm actually speaking over what was already done. So if you see the arrow moving around, it's a misdirection from the first time that I thought I recorded it. And now I'm doing voiceovers. But if you look to the right, for these three words, the first word, Malak, meaning messenger, or messengers of Yahuwah, who we call angels today. The second word is Malakuth. Malakuth is an actual physical message, like a ring on paper that's sent. So Malakuth is message. And then the last word is Malakiah, and that's the prophet, Malachi, as we know it today. So a couple of look at these words. So again, when it's talking specifically about deity Molek, Milcom, Malcolm, it's Malak. And throughout the rest of this video, I will lock. But the actual word is Malak, but specifically I'll put Malak. And then again, the Queen of Heaven, Malakath, which is different from the other two Malakas. The second word on the left-hand side, Malakah, that's just a neutral use of queen. And that has a hey on the end. And then there's Malakah with an alp or aleph at the end, which is the third word on the left-hand side. That's Aramaic use. Now, if it were up to me, I would not include the Aramaic, but it is in scripture. I would consider that foreign use, but there it is. Again, please excuse me for the arrow pointing. Just it doesn't go easy and smooth some days. That's the only thing I could say. Sorry about that. All right, so the question is, who is Molek? All right. We already know that Molek has several names, as mentioned on the previous screen. Here's the different ways to write them that you may find in your scripture. Now, the picture to the right is an actual picture, an old picture, a representation of the idol that was used for child sacrifice to this deity to appease him. So let's get into it. Malak, meaning the king, is the agricultural deity of the Ammonites and the Canaanites. And I'm going to also add the Carthaginians, who are the same people. Okay. I have Phoenicians in parentheses, but these are all the same people from Canaan. All right. The Phoenicians were a bit up in Syria more. The Canaanites, and then the Canaanites traveled across the sea to northern part of Africa, and they became the Carthaginians. All same people. All right. It looked like a man's body with an ox head. It was hollow inside and has a roaring fire at the bottom of it. They would sacrifice their children to appease this false deity by placing them into its arms. They also called this deity Saturn after the Latin word satis, meaning to sow. In scripture, Baal is the same as Molek. So again, this is an agricultural deity. They would sacrifice children or dedicate children to this deity in times of need, whether it's crops or the defeated enemy, and they would sacrifice children. Now today, the Arabs and the Persians call this same deity Kiwan. In Hebrew, it's called Kiyun. The Akkadians called it Kayamanu. I hope I got that right, which means enduring. And then the Greeks would call the same deity Kronos. Now, for the scripture that ties Baal to Moloch, you can find that in Yahoo or Jeremiah 32:35. I think I might have put this verse in a little later, but you can look it up yourself, and it will confirm that Baal and Moloch is the same. And there's an accurate picture of it. I tried to look for a live picture, but there was one, but it was modern and it was rather new. It was built like last year. Maybe, if we get on one day and someone reminds me, I can look it up and show it to you. But that's the drawing of it. All right. So the next page is, who is the queen of heaven? Moloch's consort or partner. And it says Asherah, and I have the word in Yhuhderek and the Strong's numbers for it. It means fortune. And if the last video, Changing Your Speech, we talked about how Baal was one of the deities mentioned in Isaiah 65:11. We were talking about that drink troop, right? And that was Baal, or Lord, which is the meaning of Baal. Well, this one, the other deity that I didn't mention, it says money. And it's Mani, but it's pronounced money. And money or fortune has to do with this deity. This deity in scripture is called Asherah, but that's not the name of the deity. The deity's real name is Astarte, also known as Astarte. So in scripture, the queen of heaven is coupled with Baal, and you can see that in Judges 6:25. Who we have proved is Molek. The word Asherah in Yhuhderek means upright. It indicates the wooden pole or tree that is planted standing up in the ground next to an altar. Astarte, or Asherah, is a deity of sex, fertility, and war. She is also considered a star, Venus. This deity has had many names over the centuries according to the people who worshipped it. The name was Ishtar or Ashtart in Mesopotamia, Attart in Yhuhderek, Astartu in Akkadian, Une Astre in Iskin, and Acertus in Hittite. Going just below the picture, Asherah, I'll save that. So the picture is real, actual artifacts of the deity Astarte. You can tell her because she's always cupping her bosoms. Again, this is a deity of sex and fertility as well as war. So she is always upping her breasts. I hope you do have, if you have children, please, take them out of the room. I should have said that beforehand. But this is how you can tell her. Now, if you look at the words, all of the words that alternates of her name in the different languages, it's always star in it. So her star was the star Venus. Okay. And she became, to the Romans, she was the deity of love and fortune. All right. So the other deity is Fortune in Isaiah 65:11. And these two deities tripped up Yasharel so much. It's all over Scripture, especially Kings, both versions of Kings, Chronicles, Judges, 1 Samuel, all throughout. And even in Deuteronomy, you will see mentions of this all throughout Scripture. Okay, now as far as the Scripture books themselves, I'll go to this little caption under the picture. Asherah is found under the word groves in the KJV, and under Astarte in the NET, which is the New English Translation. So you will find Asherah a couple of times, but to look at the full scope, you will have to look up the word groves, and it'll say Asherah. Also under the names ashtoreth and Asherah in most of your regular Scripture books. So the Queen of Heaven is Astarte, who's also Asherah, and then Molek is Baal, and their consorts. All right, so a couple of false deities. What you're looking at here are the words for each deity. So over here on the left-hand side for Baal or Moloch, you have Ha-Malak, and you also have Malcolm, right? Or Milcom. And you see below that a picture. These are actual, again, artifacts. I try my best to get actual real life things. I don't want drawings. I don't want cartoons. I want actual information. So this is the altar of Baal that was found in Lebanon. And it's on a, old, I guess, temple for Baal. And it's a lot larger than it looks, but this was an altar. Now going over, because I'll make sure I'll let you know how they both blend together. So over on the right is an Asherah pole. So you have Malakath, Queen of Heaven, Ashtoreth, and Asherah. And I have their Strong's numbers with them, so you can look them up, because I don't think they're on the other page. Now this particular artifact here, this is actually a gift from the UN. It's in Israel. It's a column. It's an Asherah pole that was split in two. I don't know how that happened, but in between the two halves grows an olive tree. So that's what you see sticking out at the top. The tree grew out. So an Asherah pole, again, please get the children out. I'll give a couple of seconds here. Please get them out of the room. An Asherah pole is a phallic symbol. Hopefully they don't know what that means. Your young children don't know what that means. And you can discuss with it's a phallic symbol. Okay. And the two together, I only found one picture together in their natural setting. Now, I know Asherah poles today are made out of cement or metal or something, but originally in scripture, an Asherah pole is made of wood. Okay? It's made of wood. And it would be put beside the altar of Baal or somewhere around it. And you'll see an example of a verse that talks about that. But it would be the pole next to the altar for sacrifice or just an altar to pray. And you would see them together, and these are legitimate. Asherah poles all over the world, or I shouldn't say world, all over the earth, but ones were wood. You'll see a lot of scriptures where they tear them down, they chop them down, they burn them. So wood and stone. Remember that. All right. So what an ancient Baal slash, let me start that again. What an ancient Baal slash Asherah sacrifice looks like. So the picture you're looking at right now, this picture was hard earned. It took me days to find something in a natural habitat, to find something that represented both in a picture at the same time. You don't really see that anywhere. And I searched large and hard. I searched different search engines. I searched so much stuff. It was ridiculous. This is the only picture that I have. This is an ancient forest in India. You see the Asherah pole there, and you see the flat rocks that are altars slash sacrifices to Baal. All right. So we'll go through a couple of scriptures while you look at this picture. 1 Kings 11:5 and also verse 33. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Because they have forsaken me, this is Yahweh speaking, because they have forsaken me and have worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of the Ammonites, and have not walked in my ways, to do that which is right in my eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as did David his father. So as you see with the highlighted names, you have them together. Even though different tribes, different groups of people together in connection with Yasharel. So over on the right hand side, as you look at this picture, Judges 2:13, and they forsook Yahweh and served Baal and Ashtoreth. So the connection here is you can see Ashtoreth in use with Milcom, and you see Ashtoreth in use with Baal, meaning that Baal and Milcom is the same thing. Next, Jeremiah 7:18, the children gather wood, the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the queen of heaven, and pour out drink offerings unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger. Deuteronomy 16:21, you shall not plant for yourself a grove, otherwise Asherah, of any trees near unto the altar of Yahuwah, your Allah Ya'am, which you shall make for yourselves. So there you go, in connection with groves and altars. Have the same picture, a little bit of change. This is Masha's warning to Yasharel before going into the promised land in Deuteronomy 4:25 through 28. As you can see in the picture, I've changed the words to wood and stone. When you shall beget children and children's children. This is Masha speaking. All right, just in case I didn't make that clear. And you shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves, and make a graven image, or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of Yahuwah, your Allah Yaim, and to provoke him to anger. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that you shall utterly perish from off the land where you go over the Yarden to possess it. You shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. And Yahuwah shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left few, and Yahuwah shall lead you. And there you shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. And there you shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. Yahweh was talking specifically about the deities, which have been a stumbling block for Yasharel for thousands of years. And they're still today. I'm going to add this. Christianity, I live in the United States. The majority of people grew up Christian. And the key icon, for lack of a better term, was the cross, the wooden cross. I say again, you shall serve God's work of men's hands, wood. Right? There's other religions. I know, again, in my personal community, the African American community in the United States, there's a lot of younger people that serve, that worship in Islam. And I know that particular religion, that they have a sacred stone that they make pilgrimage to, and they walk around. Again, and there you shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone this time. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed in thousands and thousands of years. And the question is, when are we going to change? Think about that. All right, so here are the credits. As you can see, I did a PowerPoint on slides. I didn't do a video. I'm just having issues with my computer overall. As you know, last year I got an extended warranty. It was acting up. My warranty's worn out. This computer is not worth another warranty. I'm having issues all over the place, so thus the slides and thus the sloppier presentation. But I hope that you were able to gain from it. Here are all the resources and the source that I used. I hope that you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll be able to gain something from it. If you would like to reach me, you can email me at Yhuhderek@mail.com for any comments, questions, concerns, whether it's scripture or this video.